In a New Orleans clothing store, Maya Johnson, a determined black woman, is wrongly accused of shoplifting. With the support of her best friend Lila and hacker Jamal, she uncovers a web of corruption and discrimination. Maya's fight turns into a powerful movement for justice, revealing not only her capabilities but also the strength of her community. Maya Johnson stepped into the vibrant clothing store on Magazine Street, the sounds of New Orleans life washing over her like a warm embrace. The bell above the door jingled cheerfully, a stark contrast to the knot of anxiety twisting in her stomach. Today was a pivotal day. She had an important job interview tomorrow and needed the perfect dress to make a lasting impression. As she walked past racks of colorful garments and the scent of fresh fabric, her heart raced with excitement and hope. Her eyes drifted over the clothing, searching for something that would capture her personality, something bright and bold that would reflect her confidence. Just as she spotted a stunning red dress hanging elegantly on a mannequin, a sharp voice cut through her enthusiasm. "Can I help you?" The tone dripped with skepticism. Maya turned to find a store employee, a middle-aged woman with a sharp bob haircut and an expression that seemed to judge her on sight. The employee's arms were crossed tightly over her chest, and she leaned slightly forward, her gaze unwavering and accusatory. "I'm just looking for a dress for an interview," Maya replied, forcing a smile despite the woman's hostility. "That one looks perfect." The employee's eyes narrowed. "You sure you can afford it?" Maya felt her cheeks flush. The insinuation was clear and stung sharply. "I can assure you that I have the means to buy it," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. The employee scoffed, dismissing Maya with a wave of her hand. "We'll see about that. I'll be watching you." Maya's heart sank. The atmosphere in the store shifted, as if the air had thickened with tension. She felt the eyes of other customers on her, their gazes filled with judgment and suspicion. Taking a deep breath, she tried to shake off the feeling of being unwelcome, determined to find the dress that would help her shine in her upcoming interview. After a few moments of browsing, she found herself at the fitting rooms, clutching the red dress against her body. The fabric felt soft and luxurious, and she could already envision herself walking into the interview with confidence. "Excuse me," Maya said, turning to the employee who was still hovering nearby. "Can I try this on?" The woman's brow furrowed. "You need to take it to the register first. No trying on without approval." A wave of frustration washed over her, but Maya nodded, forcing herself to remain calm. She walked to the register, where another employee stood with a bored expression. "I'd like to try on this dress, please," Maya said, holding it out for the woman to see. "Sure," the cashier said, taking the dress without looking at Maya. "But it'll just be a minute. I need to check inventory." Maya glanced around, her nerves beginning to fray. She could feel the employee's eyes on her, a constant reminder of her perceived guilt. After what felt like an eternity, the cashier finally handed the dress back, a hint of reluctance in her demeanor. "All right, you can go ahead," she said, but not before the other employee shot Maya a glare. As she stepped into the fitting room, Maya took a moment to gather herself. The tiny space felt claustrophobic, a stark contrast to the expansive store outside. She slipped into the dress, and for a moment she felt a surge of confidence. The dress hugged her curves perfectly, and she admired her reflection in the mirror, imagining the impression she would make at the interview. Just as she was about to step out to show the employees, she heard the door swing open and a rough voice call out from the entrance. "Hey, stop right there." Maya's heart dropped. She peeked through the curtain to see a security guard blocking the way out, a stern look on his face. The store employee stood beside him, her lips pursed in a thin line. "What's going on?" Maya called out, her voice shaking slightly. "You're not going anywhere," the guard said, moving closer, his eyes scanning her with suspicion. "We have reason to believe you're shoplifting." The accusation hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. Maya's mind raced, disbelief coursing through her veins. "What? That's ridiculous. I'm just trying on a dress." The employee stepped forward, her expression hardening. "I saw you hiding something in your bag. You think we don't notice?" Maya felt a surge of panic. "I'm not hiding anything. I came in here to buy a dress." The security guard's gaze did not waver. "Let's see what's in your bag." "I don't have to show you anything," Maya protested, her voice growing louder. "You can't just accuse me without any proof." The tension escalated as more customers turned to watch, whispers rippling through the store. Maya's heart raced as the weight of their judgment pressed down on her. She felt exposed and vulnerable, trapped in a situation that was spiraling out of control. "Ma'am, you need to comply," the guard said, stepping closer and reaching for her bag. "If you don't, I'll have to call the police." Maya clenched her fists, fighting back tears of humiliation. "This is insane. You're making a huge mistake." But before she could say more, the guard yanked her bag from her shoulder, rummaging through its contents. Maya felt the world around her fade away, the eyes of the onlookers boring into her, their judgment painfully clear. "Look," The guard held up a lip gloss and a pack of gum as if they were damning evidence. "What else do you have in here?" "Those are mine. I bought those," she shouted, desperation creeping into her voice. At that moment, the sound of sirens echoed outside, sending a chill down her spine. The guard's expression hardened further, and he picked up his radio. "I need backup. We have a suspected shoplifter." Maya's heart plummeted. She couldn't believe this was happening. "Please just let me go. I'm innocent." As the police arrived and entered the store, Maya felt the weight of despair settle over her like a heavy blanket. She was handcuffed in front of a crowd of onlookers who stared with a mixture of curiosity and disdain. The humiliation was unbearable, and she could hear the whispers behind her, judgmental, cruel, and unyielding. One customer stepped forward, her face twisted in disbelief. "You can't do this to her. She hasn't done anything wrong." But the words fell on deaf ears as the officers led Maya away, her heart aching with the knowledge that her life had just taken an unexpected and terrifying turn. The last thing she saw was the employee smirking triumphantly, a cruel smile that would haunt her even as she was taken from the store, the weight of injustice pressing down on her shoulders. Maya walked out of the store, her heart racing and her cheeks flushed with humiliation. The harsh fluorescent lights of the shop had felt stark and unforgiving, illuminating every judgmental stare from the other customers. She could still hear the accusations echoing in her mind. "You think you can just walk out of here with that dress?" The employee's words had cut through her excitement like a knife. All she wanted was to buy a beautiful dress for her job interview. Instead, she had been treated like a criminal. As she stepped onto the sidewalk, the cool air greeted her, but it did little to calm the storm brewing inside. She quickly pulled out her phone and sent a message to Lila. "Asterisk, can you meet me? I need to talk." Asterisk Lila responded almost immediately. Asterisk, of course. "Where?" Asterisk Maya replied. Asterisk Cafe on Chartres? Asterisk the cafe was a cozy spot with outdoor seating, and Maya hoped it would provide some comfort. As she walked there, she replayed the events in her mind, feeling the weight of the humiliation pressing down on her. The way the security guard had looked at her, the whispers of other customers, it all felt so unfair. She shook her head, trying to dispel the frustration. When she arrived at the cafe, she spotted Lila sitting at their usual table, a concerned expression on her face. Lila's long dark curls framed her face, and her warm brown eyes offered a comfort that Maya desperately needed. Maya took a seat across from her, and the moment their eyes met, Lila reached out, placing her hand on Maya's. "Hey, what happened?" Lila asked softly, her voice filled with concern. Maya took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. "I went to buy that dress for my interview and they accused me of shoplifting, Lila. They wouldn't listen to me. They just judged me." "What? That's ridiculous," Lila exclaimed, her voice rising with indignation. "Did they even check your bag or anything?" "No, they just stopped me right at the door. I felt so small, like I had a target on my back. And then the police came, Lila. They handcuffed me in front of everyone. It was humiliating." Lila's eyes widened and she leaned in closer. "Maya, I'm so sorry. This is not right. You can't just let them get away with this. We have to do something." Maya looked down at her hands, tracing the lines of her palms. She felt the weight of Lila's words, but the thought of fighting back felt daunting. "What can we do? I'm just one person." "Exactly," Lila said, her voice firm. "You're one person, but you're not alone. We can rally people, get their stories. We can make this bigger than just you. This isn't just about what happened today, it's about all the times people like us have been treated unfairly." Maya's heart began to race again, but this time it was a mix of fear and determination. "You really think we can make a difference?" "Absolutely. We can't let them silence us," Lila insisted. "But we need to gather evidence. We need to know if this is happening to others. And I know just the person who can help us." "Who?" Maya asked, intrigued. "Jamal," Lila replied, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "He's a hacker. He's brilliant with technology and knows how to dig up information. If we can get him on board, we might uncover some serious stuff about that store." Maya considered this for a moment. Jamal was known in their community for his skills, but she also remembered how he often kept to himself, preferring the company of his computer screens to that of people. "Do you really think he'll help us? He cares about justice. He'll understand what's at stake here," Lila said confidently. "Let's go find him." With a newfound sense of purpose, Maya nodded. "Okay, let's do it." They quickly finished their drinks and headed toward the small apartment where Jamal lived, just a few blocks away. As they approached, Maya felt her nerves creeping back in. What if he didn't want to get involved? What if he thought they were crazy for wanting to take on a store? They reached Jamal's door and Lila knocked firmly. After a moment, the door creaked open, revealing Jamal in a loose t-shirt and pajama pants, his curly hair tousled. He looked surprised to see them. "Hey, what's up? Can we come in?" Lila asked, stepping forward. "Sure," Jamal replied, stepping aside to let them in. The apartment was cluttered with computer parts, old monitors, and stacks of books on technology and hacking. Maya felt a sense of comfort in the chaos. Jamal had always had a knack for making the complex seem accessible, and she admired his dedication to his craft. "What's going on?" Jamal asked, squinting at Maya, sensing the tension in the air. Maya took a deep breath and recounted what had happened at the store, her voice trembling slightly as she relived the moments of shame and fear. I was accused of shoplifting, Jamal, and it's not just me. We think there's a pattern of discrimination happening there, and we want to expose it. Jamal listened intently, his brow furrowing as Maya spoke. That's messed up, he said when she finished. What do you need from me? We need evidence, Lila chimed in. If you could dig into the store's records, see if there have been complaints or incidents that have been swept under the rug, that would help us build a case. Jamal nodded slowly, considering their request. I can look into it, but the store probably has some security measures in place to protect their data. It won't be easy. Whatever it takes, Maya said, her determination igniting. I can't let this go without a fight. All right, Jamal agreed, a hint of a smile breaking through his serious demeanor. I'll see what I can do, but you both need to be careful. If they catch wind of what you're doing, we'll be careful, Lila promised. But we have to do this. We can't let them intimidate us. Then let's get started, Jamal said, his fingers already moving toward his laptop. I'll need some time to gather information, but I'll keep you updated. Let's meet back here tomorrow? Perfect, Maya replied, feeling a surge of hope. She and Lila exchanged glances, and for the first time since the incident, Maya felt a flicker of empowerment. They were not just victims. They were about to become agents of change. Maya sat at the small round table in the dimly lit cafe, her fingers wrapped around a steaming cup of coffee that had long since lost its heat. The aroma of roasted beans and sweet pastries filled the air, but she hardly noticed. Her mind was still reeling from the events of the past few days, the humiliation of being accused of shoplifting, the sting of judgmental stares from strangers, and the suffocating handcuffs that had left marks on her wrists. Across from her, Lila leaned forward, her brow furrowed in concern. Maya, you can't let this go. You have to fight back, she said, her voice steady but urgent. You deserve justice, and so do all the women who've gone through this. We need to show them that we won't be silenced. Maya sighed heavily, looking down at the table. I know, but where do we even start? I'm just one person. What can I do against a store that's so big and powerful? Lila reached across the table and squeezed her hand. You're not just one person. You have me, and we can find someone who can help us dig deeper. Someone who knows how to navigate all this technology stuff. Technology stuff? Maya raised an eyebrow, a flicker of curiosity igniting in her chest. Are you talking about Jamal? Exactly. He's a wizard with computers. If there's anyone who can help us gather evidence of what's really going on in that store, it's him, Lila replied, her eyes sparkling with determination. Maya hesitated. Jamal was a brilliant hacker, sure, but he was also a bit of a wild card. The last time she had seen him, he was playing video games with a group of friends, oblivious to the real world. But maybe that was exactly what she needed. Someone who understood how to expose the truth without being intimidated. All right, let's find him, Maya said, her voice gaining strength. I can't just sit here and let them get away with this. After finishing their drinks, the two friends stepped out of the cafe, the warm New Orleans sun hitting them like a comforting embrace. They walked through the bustling streets, filled with the sounds of jazz and laughter. But today, Maya felt far from festive. She was on a mission. They arrived at Jamal's apartment, a modest place adorned with gaming posters and a slight clutter of tech gadgets. Maya knocked on the door, and after a couple of moments, it swung open to reveal Jamal, his hair tousled and a controller still in his hand. Maya, Lila. What's up? He said, his face lighting up with a smile. Maya took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. Jamal, we need your help. I was accused of shoplifting at that clothing store, and we think there's something much bigger going on, like a pattern of discrimination. We need evidence to back it up. Jamal's expression shifted from casual friendliness to seriousness. What do you mean, discrimination? Lila jumped in, her enthusiasm palpable. Maya was wrongfully accused just for being a black woman in that store. We want to see if there are records of similar incidents, or if there's something more corrupt happening behind the scenes. Jamal nodded thoughtfully, setting his controller down. All right, I can look into it. I have some tools that might help us access their internal databases. But, this could get messy. Are you ready for that? Maya exchanged a glance with Lila, who nodded firmly. We're ready, Maya affirmed, her voice steady. We can't let them intimidate us. With that, they settled into Jamal's living room, which was littered with cords and computer parts. He flipped open his laptop and began typing furiously, the screen filling with lines of code and data. Maya and Lila leaned in closer, their hearts racing in anticipation of what Jamal would uncover. All right, let's see what we can find about that store, Jamal said, his fingers dancing over the keyboard. After a few minutes, a frown crossed his face. This is strange. There have been multiple complaints filed against them, but they've all been marked as resolved and closed without any action being taken. What do you mean? Maya asked, leaning closer. Are they just ignoring the complaints? Exactly. It looks like they're systematically covering it up. I'll dig deeper. Maya's heart sank. This wasn't just a misunderstanding. It was a deliberate attempt to silence the voices of women like her. She felt a surge of anger building within her. We need to connect with those women. If they're all being silenced, we have to come together. Jamal nodded, his focus unwavering unwavering as he continued to navigate the digital labyrinth. "I can help set up a secure group where you can speak with them anonymously. Just give me a few minutes." As he worked, Lila pulled out her phone, scrolling through social media. "I can create a page for this. We need to start sharing our experiences, get people talking about what's happening." Maya felt a sense of purpose blossoming inside her. "Let's do it. We need to create a support group, a community for all the women who face this kind of discrimination. We can't fight alone." A few minutes later, Jamal turned to them with a serious look. "I found some records of previous incidents. If you guys want, I can compile them into a report. We can use it as evidence." "Please do," Maya urged, her voice firm. "We need to show everyone that this isn't just my story but a collective problem." As Jamal worked on the report, Maya felt a sense of solidarity growing between her, Lila, and Jamal. They were no longer just three individuals, they were a team. With each passing moment, the weight of her humiliation began to lift, replaced by a newfound determination to fight back against the injustices that plagued not just her but countless others. When Jamal finally finished compiling the evidence, he turned to Maya and Lila, his expression serious. "All right, here's what I found. There have been at least a dozen complaints in the past year, all alleging racial profiling and discrimination. And each time, it seems the store just brushed it under the rug." Maya took a deep breath, the gravity of the situation settling over her. "This is bigger than I thought. We need to reach out to these women and get them involved. We can't let them dismiss us any longer." "I'll help you set up a meeting," Lila said, her voice filled with enthusiasm. "We can gather everyone and start sharing our stories. It's time to make some noise." Maya looked at her friends, feeling a swell of gratitude. "Thank you both. I couldn't do this without you." As they began to strategize, a renewed sense of hope filled the cafe. Maya realized that this was just the beginning of her fight, not just for herself but for all the women who had suffered in silence. They were ready to take a stand, and together, they would uncover the truth. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm golden hue over the streets of New Orleans as Maya Johnson stood in front of the clothing store that had become the epicenter of her fight for justice. The store's glass doors gleamed, and though it appeared inviting, Maya felt a storm brewing inside her. Today was the day they would demonstrate against the discrimination she had faced, and she was determined to make her voice heard. Maya adjusted her sign, which read "Justice for All, Stop Racial Profiling," in bold, vibrant letters. She looked around and saw Lila, her best friend and unwavering supporter, bustling to organize the crowd. Lila had always been the fire to Maya's spirit, and today was no exception. "Maya, we need to form a line here. Let's make sure everyone knows why we're here," Lila shouted, her enthusiasm infectious. Maya smiled, invigorated by Lila's energy. "You got it. Let's make sure our voices echo today." She took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. They had gathered a diverse group of supporters, all united under the banner of justice. Some held signs, others wore t-shirts emblazoned with empowering messages, but all shared the same determination. As the crowd began to swell, Maya felt a mix of excitement and anxiety. She had never imagined herself as a leader, yet here she was, standing at the forefront of a movement. She glanced at the other women who had come forward to share their stories of discrimination, and her heart swelled with pride. They were all there for one reason: to stand against the injustice that had plagued them for too long. "All right, everyone, let's get started," Maya called out, raising her voice above the chatter. The crowd quieted, and she could see the hopeful yet anxious expressions on their faces. "Thank you all for being here today. We are here to stand against discrimination and demand justice for ourselves and for all those who have been wronged." The crowd erupted in cheers, their voices mingling in a chorus of solidarity. As she spoke, Maya noticed the store manager stepping outside. He wore a crisp suit, his brow furrowed in concern as he surveyed the growing crowd. Maya felt a surge of determination. This was her moment to confront the very person who had dismissed her as a thief, the person who represented the oppressive system she was fighting against. "Maya, look," Lila whispered, nudging her elbow. "He's coming over." The manager approached with an air of arrogance, flanked by a couple of security guards who stood stiffly beside him, their arms crossed over their chests. "What's going on here?" the manager asked, his voice dripping with condescension. "You all need to disperse. This is a private property." Maya stepped forward, her heart racing but her resolve unwavering. "We're not going anywhere until you acknowledge the discrimination that takes place in your store," she declared, her voice ringing with conviction. "I was wrongfully accused of shoplifting just because of the color of my skin. This is not just about me, it's about all the women who have faced this type of injustice." The manager scoffed, waving a dismissive hand. "This is all just a misunderstanding. Our security is trained to be vigilant. You can't expect us to ignore suspicious behavior." "Suspicious behavior?" Maya shot back, her hands trembling with anger yet steady with purpose. "I was shopping, looking for a dress for a job interview. You don't get to decide what's suspicious based on my appearance." The crowd erupted in applause, their energy pushing Maya forward. She felt the collective strength of those around her, and it spurred her on. The manager's expression hardened as he glanced at the growing crowd of supporters. "Listen, I don't don't have time for this nonsense," he sneered. "You're causing a scene and I won't have it. If you don't leave, I'll have to call the police." "Go ahead," Maya challenged, her voice rising above the noise. "Call them. Maybe they can finally see the truth behind your so-called business practices." At that moment, a camera crew arrived, drawn by the crowd's energy and the tension in the air. A reporter stepped forward, microphone in hand. "Excuse me, can I get a statement from you about what's happening here?" Maya turned her attention to the camera, recognizing the opportunity to reach a broader audience. "Absolutely. This isn't just about my experience. It's about a systemic issue that affects countless individuals of color in our community. We are demanding accountability from this store and all businesses that perpetuate discrimination." Lila stood beside her, nodding vigorously. "We will not be silenced. We will not go back to being invisible." As the crowd cheered, the manager's face turned a shade of crimson, and he glanced nervously at his security personnel. The once boisterous atmosphere had shifted. Now, the crowd felt electrified by the prospect of change. The store was no longer a place of shame but a battleground for justice. "Maya, keep it up," someone shouted from the back, and the chant began to rise. "Justice, justice, justice." Maya felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes, overwhelmed by the support and the strength of those around her. She realized that this was not just her fight, it was a collective battle for dignity and respect. As she stood there, surrounded by her community, she felt a sense of belonging that she had never experienced before. The manager, realizing he was losing control of the situation, attempted to back away. "This is inappropriate. I won't engage with you further," he muttered, turning to retreat into the store. But before he could escape, Maya called out one final time. "Don't walk away. You owe us an explanation. You owe us respect." Her voice cut through the air, sharp and demanding. Instead of retreating, she stepped forward, emboldened by the crowd's energy. "If you think we're going to let this go, you're mistaken. We will keep coming back until you take responsibility for your actions." The crowd roared in approval, and Maya felt the weight of their collective strength. The store's reputation was on the line, and with each passing moment, the awareness of the issues at hand grew stronger. As the demonstration continued, Maya spotted a woman in the crowd who was taking notes. She had a serious expression, and Maya couldn't help but feel a sense of intrigue. Who was she? The woman seemed to be observing everything carefully, her eyes flicking between Maya and the manager, as if she were analyzing the unfolding drama. Maya didn't have time to dwell on it, though. She was in the middle of a powerful moment, leading her community in a fight for justice that had been long overdue. And no matter the challenges ahead, she knew they would face them together, united in purpose and unyielding in their quest for equality. The pressure on the store was mounting, and Maya could feel it in the air like an electric charge. After the demonstration, which had drawn an unexpected number of supporters, the store's management scrambled to contain the fallout. Maya had become a prominent figure in the fight for justice, and her name was now synonymous with the movement against racial discrimination. It was a bright Saturday morning when Maya, Lila, and Jamal gathered at their usual spot in the cafe, the one with the brick walls and eclectic art that always made them feel inspired. The atmosphere was buzzing with the chatter of patrons and the aroma of freshly brewed coffee. Maya sat cross-legged at the table, a notebook filled with ideas and strategies open in front of her. Lila stirred her cappuccino, her brow furrowed in concentration as she reviewed Maya's notes. "Maya, this is incredible," Lila said, her voice laced with admiration. "You've really become the voice of our community. Everyone is talking about you." Maya looked up, a mix of disbelief and pride flickering across her face. "I never set out to be a spokesperson. I just wanted to stand up for what's right." Jamal leaned back in his chair, a sly smile spreading across his face. "Well, you have a knack for it. Look at how many people showed up at the protest. They see you as a leader." Maya sighed, her heart heavy with the weight of responsibility. "But it's not just me. There are so many stories to be told. I'm just one voice among many." "Exactly," Lila chimed in, her enthusiasm infectious. "And your story is powerful. It resonates with people. We need to keep this momentum going." Just then, the cafe door swung open, and a group of women entered, their expressions a mix of anxiety and determination. It was a few members from the support group Maya had started, women who had also faced discrimination in the store. They spotted Maya and made their way over, their hearts pounding with the urgency of their shared experiences. "Maya," one of them, a woman named Tara, began, her voice shaky but firm, "we wanted to thank you for everything you're doing. It's given us hope." Maya smiled warmly, her heart swelling at their gratitude. "You all have strength in your stories. It's important that we keep sharing them. Together we can make a difference." As they gathered around the table, the conversation flowed, filled with shared experiences of humiliation and resilience. Maya listened intently, taking notes and encouraging them to speak up. But as the meeting progressed, An underlying tension began to seep into the air. I heard that the store is trying to discredit us. Another woman, Lisa, spoke up, her voice trembling. They're saying we're just looking for attention. Maya's gaze sharpened. That's exactly what they want us to think. But we can't let them silence us. We have to keep pushing back. Jamal, who had been silent, leaned forward, his eyes alight with determination. You know what? We should take this to the next level. If they want to play dirty, we can play smarter. We need to gather evidence of their tactics and show the world what they're really doing. The group nodded, their spirits lifted by the thought of taking action. Maya felt a surge of resolve as she looked around the table. Jamal, can you dig deeper into the store's practices? Maybe find out what they've been doing behind the scenes. Leave it to me, he replied confidently, already pulling out his laptop. I can access public records and I've got a few connections that might help us uncover more. As they continued to brainstorm, Maya felt an exhilarating sense of purpose. This was more than just a personal fight. It was about creating a movement, and she was at the forefront, ready to lead the charge. Later that afternoon, after the cafe meeting, Maya attended a community meeting organized by local leaders. The room was packed, filled with concerned citizens eager to discuss the recent events surrounding the store. Maya stood at the front, her heart racing as she prepared to speak. Thank you all for being here today, she began, her voice steady despite the nerves. This isn't just about one store or one incident. It's about a systemic issue that has plagued our community for far too long. We can't let this continue. A murmur of agreement rippled through the room, and Maya felt the energy shift. She could see the determination in the eyes of those around her, and it fueled her resolve. As we move forward, we must stand united. We need to support each other and demand accountability. This is our chance to make our voices heard and to show that we won't back down. A woman in the back raised her hand. But what if they retaliate? They have more power and resources than we do. Maya nodded, acknowledging the fear that was palpable in the room. I understand that fear. I've experienced it myself, but we can't let it paralyze us. We must find strength in our unity, and together we are stronger than any corporation. The crowd erupted in applause, their spirits lifted by her words. Maya felt the weight of her mission settle on her shoulders, but she also felt the warmth of community support. They were in this together. As the meeting concluded, Maya was approached by several women who wanted to share their stories further. One woman, Angela, took her aside. Maya, I've been quiet for so long, but your courage has inspired me. I want to help however I can. Thank you, Angela, Maya replied, her heart swelling with gratitude. Your voice matters. We need everyone to come forward and share their experiences. After the meeting, Maya returned home, her mind racing with thoughts of the fight ahead. She settled onto her couch, scrolling through social media to see how the public was reacting to their movement. The hashtags were trending and news articles were being shared. It was a whirlwind of activity and it felt surreal. But as her phone buzzed with notifications, a pang of anxiety settled in her chest. Anonymous comments flooded in, some supportive but many were filled with vitriol and threats. Maya took a deep breath, reminding herself that this was part of the fight. The louder they spoke, the more resistance they would face. That evening, as she prepared for bed, her phone rang with a message from Lila. Maya, I know things are getting intense, but remember why you started this. You're not alone. We're all here for you. Maya smiled, feeling a renewed sense of strength. Thank you, Lila. I won't back down. We're just getting started. And with that thought, Maya drifted off to sleep, her mind filled with dreams of justice and the strength of her community rallying behind her. The journey was far from over, but she was ready to face whatever came next. Maya sat at the small table in the corner of the bustling cafe, her hands cradling a steaming cup of coffee. Across from her, Jamal was typing furiously on his laptop, his brow furrowed in concentration. The cafe was a hub of activity, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingling with the sweet scent of pastries. But for Maya, the world outside faded into a blur as she focused on the task at hand. She knew that every second counted in their fight against the systemic injustices she had faced. Got it? Jamal exclaimed, his eyes lighting up as he leaned back in his chair. I'm in. This is it, Maya. You're not going to believe what I found. He turned the screen towards her, revealing a series of documents and records that he had hacked from the store's database. Maya leaned in closer, her heart racing with a mix of excitement and trepidation. The words on the screen were damning. Look at this, he said, pointing to a section of the document. These are complaints of discrimination that have been filed against the store over the last year, but every single one of them has been marked as resolved or dismissed without any action taken. Lila, who had been quietly sipping her drink, leaned over to get a better look. This is huge, Jamal. They've been covering this up. Why would they do that? Jamal clicked through the files, revealing more evidence. It's not just about protecting their reputation, he said, his voice steady but urgent. It looks like there's a pattern here. Other stores in the area are linked to this too. There's a network of companies that have been hush-hushing complaints like this for years. Maya felt a surge of determination. We need to expose this. We have to make sure that these stories get out. Women like me can't keep suffering in silence. Lila nodded vigorously. You're right. We can't let this go unchallenged. We need to organize and show everyone that this isn't just your story, Maya. It's the story of so many women in our community. Jamal's fingers danced across the keyboard again. With the evidence I've gathered, we can start building a case. But it won't be easy. These companies have powerful allies. They'll fight back. Maya took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. The thought of powerful people trying to silence them didn't scare her as much as it once had. Let them try. We're not backing down. As the three friends plotted their next steps, Maya's mind raced with thoughts of the women she had met in the support group. They had shared their stories of humiliation and discrimination, each one echoing her own experience. She felt a profound responsibility to not only her own cause but to theirs as well. Jamal, she said, her voice firm, can you dig deeper? I want to know who's behind this. Who are these powerful allies? If they think they can silence us, they've got another thing coming. Absolutely, Jamal replied, his determination mirroring hers. I'll see what I can find, but we need to be careful. If they catch wind of what we're doing, it could get dangerous. Maya nodded, understanding the weight of his words. They were taking on a system that had been entrenched for years, but she was tired of living in fear. I'm ready for whatever it takes. We have to bring this to light. Days turned into nights as they worked tirelessly. Jamal's expertise proved invaluable. He uncovered internal emails discussing how to handle the rising number of complaints, suggesting strategies to deflect media attention and discredit the accusers. Each revelation fueled Maya's resolve. One evening, as they gathered for another meeting in the cafe, Jamal arrived looking visibly troubled. Guys, I found something big. I've traced communications between the store and other companies involved in the discrimination. They're colluding to keep this under wraps. What do you mean? Maya asked, her heart pounding. Let me show you. Jamal opened his laptop and pulled up a conversation thread. Here, they're discussing how to manage customer relations. It's all coded language, but they're clearly talking about how to silence women who speak out. Maya's fists clenched in anger. This is outrageous. They're treating us like we're disposable. We can't let them get away with this. Lila, who had been reading over Jamal's shoulder, looked up with a steely gaze. We have to take this information to the public. If we sit on it, they'll just find a way to bury it. Jamal nodded in agreement. But we need to be smart about it. If we go public without a solid plan, we could end up in deeper trouble. Maya felt the weight of their mission pressing down on her. What if we organize a demonstration? We can gather the women who have suffered from this store and other businesses like it. We can share our stories and confront them head-on. Lila beamed with enthusiasm. That's it. We'll make it impossible for them to ignore us. And if we can get the media involved, it'll amplify our voices. Jamal raised an eyebrow. You know they'll try to discredit us. They'll paint us as troublemakers. Maya met his gaze with fierce determination. Let them try. We have the truth on our side, and we have each other. We're not just fighting for ourselves, we're fighting for everyone who has suffered in silence. As the three friends strategized, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing on the precipice of something monumental. They were no longer just individuals fighting back against one store, they were a collective force ready to challenge an entire system. But as they dove deeper into their plans, Maya couldn't ignore the growing pressure. The stakes were rising, and with every new piece of evidence Jamal uncovered, she felt the shadow of danger looming closer. The thought of powerful people wanting to silence them filled her with a mix of fear and resolve. I need to be ready for whatever comes next, she thought, her mind racing with possibilities. I have to be strong not just for me but for all the women who have faced this. As they finalized their plans for the demonstration, Maya felt a fire igniting within her. She was no longer just a victim. She was becoming a leader, a voice for the voiceless, and with the support of her friends, she knew they could make a difference. Let's do this, she said, her voice steady and strong. Together we're unstoppable. Maya Johnson stood nervously at the entrance of the public hearing room, her heart pounding in her chest. The air was thick with tension as she stepped inside, a mix of supporters and skeptics filling the seats. It was a pivotal moment in her fight for justice, and she could feel the weight of the world pressing down on her shoulders. She had spent endless hours preparing for this day, rehearsing her words in front of the mirror, imagining the impact her testimony could have. As she approached the podium, Maya's gaze swept across the room. There were familiar faces. Lila sat in the front row, her friend's expression filled with encouragement. In the back, Jamal fiddled with his camera, documenting everything for their records. The audience was a cacophony of emotions. Some were there to support her while others wore expressions of skepticism, ready to dismiss her claims. Maya took a deep breath and adjusted the microphone. Thank you for allowing me to speak today, she began, her voice steady but soft. My name is Maya Johnson, and I'm here to share my experience of discrimination and wrongful accusation at the hands of the very store that should be a place of community and trust. The room fell silent, the gravity of her words hanging in the air. She could see a few heads nodding in support, while others shifted uncomfortably in their seats. She pressed on, recounting the events that led to this moment, the humiliation of being accused of shoplifting while shopping for a dress that could change her life. I was only there to buy a dress for a job interview, a chance to better my life. Instead, I was handcuffed in front of other customers, treated like a criminal because of the color of my skin. A murmur rippled through the audience, and Maya felt a surge of courage. This isn't just about me. This is about every woman of color who has been unfairly targeted, every person who has been made to feel less than human based on their appearance. The systemic discrimination that exists in our society cannot be ignored any longer. She glanced over at Lila, who gave her a thumbs up, a silent sign of encouragement. Maya continued, I know I'm not alone in my experience. Since this happened, I've connected with other women who have faced similar injustices. We've formed a support group, and together we are demanding change. We are no longer going to be silenced. As she spoke, Maya noticed a few members of the audience exchanging glances. Some appeared moved, while others looked unconvinced. She could feel her heart racing, but she pressed on, fueled by her determination. The store's management has a history of covering up complaints of discrimination. I've seen the records, and I know there are countless others who have suffered as I have. This culture of silence and shame must end. A voice called out from the back, What do you want us to do about it? Maya turned to face the voice. A man sat with crossed arms, skepticism etched across his face. Are you just going to stand there and complain? I'm not here to complain, Maya shot back, her voice rising. I'm here to demand accountability and justice. We want the store to take responsibility for its actions, to implement training programs that educate employees on racial sensitivity, and to ensure that no one else has to go through what I did. The crowd began to murmur again, this time more animatedly. Maya could see the tide starting to shift, and she felt emboldened. We need to create a system where customers, regardless of their background, can shop without fear of harassment. We need to foster an environment where everyone feels safe and respected. As she finished her statement, applause erupted from the front row where Lila sat. Others began to join in, clapping and cheering for Maya's bravery. But amidst the support, there were still skeptics, murmuring amongst themselves, their expressions doubtful. Maya took a moment to gather herself before continuing. I've been threatened for speaking out, but I refuse to be silenced. This fight is not just mine. It belongs to all of us who have been marginalized and oppressed. We have to stand together and demand change. The tension in the room was palpable as Maya scanned the crowd, searching for signs of support. A woman stood up in the middle of the room. I was wrongfully accused of stealing from that same store, she declared, her voice shaking with emotion. I thought I was the only one. Thank you for speaking out. Maya's heart soared at the woman's courage. You're not alone, she called back, her voice filled with conviction. Together we can make our voices heard. As the woman took her seat, Maya felt the energy shift in the room. More individuals began to stand, sharing their own stories of discrimination and injustice. Each voice added to the growing momentum, weaving a tapestry of shared experiences that resonated deeply with everyone present. But just as the conversation was building to a hopeful crescendo, a figure in a suit entered the hearing room. It was a representative from the store, a smirk on his face that made Maya's blood boil. He approached the microphone, dismissing her testimony with a wave of his hand. This is just a misunderstanding, he said, his tone condescending. Our store has policies to prevent theft, and we're simply doing our job. Maya felt her heart drop as the crowd gasped at his words. You're calling it a misunderstanding? She retorted, her voice rising again. Do you understand how it feels to be treated like a criminal for simply shopping? This is about more than your policies. This is about human dignity. The audience began to shout in agreement, their anger palpable. You can't dismiss our experiences, someone yelled. This is not just a job for you. It's our lives. The store representative, clearly rattled by the escalating emotions, attempted to regain control of the room. We have protocols in place to ensure security. We take these allegations seriously, but we cannot allow emotions to cloud our judgment. Maya stepped forward, her presence commanding attention. You think this is just about emotions? This is about real people, real lives that have been affected by your store's practices. We are not going to let you dismiss our pain any longer. The crowd erupted into cheers, rallying behind Maya's words. Lila's eyes sparkled with pride as she clapped, encouraging others to join in. Jamal captured the moment on his camera, ready to share their fight with the world. Maya took a deep breath, feeling the energy of the room. She had ignited a fire within her community, and she refused to let it die out. We are here for justice. We are here for change, and we will not be silenced. The applause grew louder, drowning out the representative's feeble attempts to regain control. Maya stood tall, her heart racing with a mix of fear and exhilaration. She knew that this was just the beginning of a long struggle, but in that moment she felt the strength of her community behind her, and she was ready to fight for what was right, no matter the cost. Maya sat in the dim light of her small living room, surrounded by a mountain of papers, notes and flyers. The weight of the fight against discrimination hung heavily on her shoulders, but the resolve in her heart only grew stronger with each passing day. She had just hung up the phone with a former employee of the store who had agreed to meet them later. This could be the break they were looking for. "Do you think she'll really have something useful?" Lila asked, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. She was perched on the edge of the couch, her enthusiasm palpable. The two friends had been inseparable since childhood, and Lila had been by Maya's side through every twist and turn of this harrowing journey. "I hope so," Maya replied, her brow furrowed in concentration. "She mentioned there's a lot more to the store than just what happened to me. If she's willing to share, it could be a game changer for us." Lila nodded, her fingers tapping nervously against her knee. "I just can't believe how many people have come forward since we started this. It feels like the whole community is rallying behind you." Maya smiled faintly, her heart swelling with gratitude. "It's not just me, Lila. It's all of us. We're fighting for every woman who's ever been treated unfairly. We need to make sure our voices are heard." As the sun began to set, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Maya and Lila prepared for the evening's meeting. They had invited Jamal, the tech-savvy hacker, to help brainstorm ideas for their next demonstration. Together, they hoped to devise a strategy that would not only highlight the injustices but also propose tangible solutions to prevent them from happening in the future. When Jamal arrived, he was greeted with a warm hug from Lila and a nod of acknowledgement from Maya. He held a laptop under one arm and a stack of papers in the other. "Hey ladies, ready to shake things up?" he said, a confident grin spreading across his face. "Absolutely," Maya replied, her spirits lifting at his enthusiasm. "Let's get to work." They settled around the coffee table and Jamal set his laptop down. "So, I've been thinking about the last demonstration. It was good, but we need to make the next one even more impactful. We can't just raise awareness. We need to show that we're serious about change." Lila leaned forward, her fingers interlaced. "What if we focused on specific demands this time? We can outline what we want from the store and present it clearly to the public." Maya nodded, a spark igniting in her mind. "Yes, we need to show that we're not just complaining, we're proposing actionable solutions. We could create a list of policies that the store should implement to prevent discrimination." Jamal's eyes lit up. "I can help you guys with that. I can pull data on similar cases and successful initiatives from other stores that have faced discrimination issues. We can create a comprehensive proposal that outlines what needs to change." "Perfect," Maya said, her excitement mounting. "And we can present it at the meeting with the community leaders. It'll show that we're organized and serious about this fight." As they began brainstorming, the conversation flowed freely. Ideas bounced back and forth, working on outreach to other organizations, drafting a petition for community support, and utilizing social media to amplify their message. Lila took notes furiously, her pen flying across the page as she captured every suggestion. After an hour of intense discussion, Jamal raised a finger, a thoughtful expression crossing his face. "You know, we should also address the store's management directly. If we can get a former employee on board, she might be able to help us convey the internal culture of discrimination that could lend credibility to our demands." Maya's heart raced. "Right. If she can share her experiences, it will add weight to our argument. People are more likely to listen if they know there's a systemic issue at play." Lila smiled, the energy in the room palpable. "This is coming together really well. I can't wait to see how the community responds." Just then, a knock on the door interrupted their planning session. Maya exchanged glances with Lila, who nodded encouragingly. She opened the door to reveal a woman in her early 30s with a determined look on her face. She introduced herself as Angela, the former store employee they had spoken to earlier. "Thank you for meeting with us," Maya said, stepping aside to let Angela in. "We really appreciate you taking the time." Angela offered a small smile, her hands tucked into the pockets of her jacket. "I'm glad to be here. I know firsthand how toxic the work environment can be, and I want to help." As they settled back into their seats, Maya felt a mixture of nerves and anticipation. "Can you tell us about your experience working there?" she asked gently. Angela took a deep breath, her expression turning serious. "It wasn't just an isolated incident with you, Maya. I witnessed discrimination against customers and employees on a daily basis. It was subtle at first, just the way management treated certain people differently. But over time, it became clear that there was a culture of bias." Maya leaned forward, her heart racing. "What kinds of things did you see?" "Employees were constantly monitored, especially those who were people of color. I remember one time when a black woman was accused of stealing simply because she looked suspicious to a manager. They never even asked her for an explanation. It was gut-wrenching to watch," Angela recounted, her voice tinged with emotion. Lila interjected, "This is exactly what we need. If we can get statements like this from multiple people, we can build a solid case against the store." Angela nodded, her resolve firm. "I'm willing to help however I can. I've spoken to other former employees who feel the same way. We can all come together to give our testimonies." Maya felt a surge of hope as the pieces began to fall into place. "This is going to make a huge difference. If we can gather enough voices, it will show that this is a widespread issue, not just a single incident. Angela smiled, a flicker of determination in her eyes. Exactly. We need to stand together and demand change. As they continued to discuss the plan for the demonstration, Maya felt empowered. They brainstormed concrete proposals, discussing potential policies to implement that would create a safer and more equitable environment for everyone. Jamal chimed in with suggestions for how to utilize technology to collect data and amplify their message, while Lila helped refine their ideas into a clear and concise format. Hours passed, and as the evening light faded into darkness, Maya looked around at her friends and allies. They were no longer just a few individuals fighting against injustice. They were a growing movement poised to make an impact. With each word spoken and each story shared, they were weaving a tapestry of resilience and strength that would not be easily unraveled. As they concluded the meeting, Maya took a moment to reflect. Thank you all for believing in this cause. We have a lot of work ahead of us, but together, we can make a difference. Lila grinned, her enthusiasm infectious. Let's do this, Maya. We're not just fighting for you, we're fighting for everyone who has been silenced. Maya nodded, her heart swelling with pride. She felt a renewed sense of purpose, knowing that they were on the brink of something powerful. The fight for justice was far from over, but with the support of her community, she was ready to take the next steps toward change. As they gathered their belongings and prepared to leave, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the cusp of a significant breakthrough, a moment that would mark the beginning of a new chapter in their fight against discrimination. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm golden hue over the city of New Orleans as Maya stood at the forefront of a growing crowd. The atmosphere was electric, filled with a mixture of anticipation and determination. She could feel the collective energy of the hundreds gathered behind her, a diverse assembly of faces united by a shared purpose. Today was not just another day, it was a moment of reckoning. Maya adjusted the microphone, her heart pounding in rhythm with the chanting crowd. She took a deep breath, inhaling the scent of the street food vendors nearby, the faint notes of gumbo and beignet mingling in the air. It felt surreal, standing there, knowing that she had sparked something much larger than herself. The movement that had begun with her personal fight against injustice had burgeoned into a call for action that resonated with many. As she peered out into the sea of faces, her gaze landed on a woman standing off to the side. The woman was dressed in a simple black dress, her hair pulled back into a neat bun, but there was something about her demeanor that caught Maya's attention. The woman was watching her intently, her expression inscrutable. It was as if she were studying Maya, weighing the significance of the moment. The time for change is now. Maya shouted into the microphone, her voice booming over the crowd. The words ignited a roar of applause, cheers, and chants. No more discrimination, no more silence. The crowd echoed her sentiments, their voices merging into a powerful chorus. Justice for Maya, justice for all. The chants reverberated through the streets, a rhythmic heartbeat of unity and resilience. Maya's confidence swelled as she continued to speak, sharing her story and the stories of countless others who had faced similar injustices. She spoke of the humiliation, the shame, and the anger that had fueled her journey. Each word was laced with passion, and the crowd hung on her every syllable. Today we stand together, not just for myself but for every person who has ever felt the weight of discrimination, she declared, her eyes scanning the crowd, making contact with various supporters. This isn't just about one store. This is about a system that has oppressed too many for too long. As she spoke, the mysterious woman remained in her peripheral vision, her gaze steady, her expression unwavering. It was unsettling yet intriguing. Who was she? Maya couldn't shake the feeling that the woman held some hidden significance. After finishing her speech, Maya stepped back from the microphone, her heart racing from adrenaline. The crowd erupted once more, a tidal wave of sound and support. At that moment, Maya felt invincible, surrounded by allies who believed in the same cause. As the cheers began to settle, the woman approached, her steps measured and deliberate. Maya's curiosity piqued as she noticed the woman's confident posture and the way she carried herself with an air of authority. When she reached Maya, she paused, her piercing gaze locking onto Maya's. "Hi, I'm Elise," she introduced herself, her voice smooth and calm, cutting through the remnants of the crowd's uproar. "I've been watching you speak. You have a remarkable presence." "Thank you," Maya replied, still trying to gauge the woman. "What brings you here?" "I used to work at that store," Elise said, her eyes narrowing slightly as she pointed behind Maya toward the establishment that had been the epicenter of the movement. "I saw firsthand the culture of discrimination. It's worse than you can imagine." Maya felt a chill run down her spine. "What do you mean?" she pressed, intrigued but cautious. "What kinds of things did you witness?" Elise glanced around, ensuring no one was within earshot. "They've been covering up complaints for years. I had to sign an NDA when I left, but I couldn't stay silent anymore. Your story inspired me to come forward." Maya's heart raced. "Do you have evidence? Anything that could help?" "I do," do, Elise replied, her tone shifting to one of urgency. But it's not just about this store. There's a network involved, other businesses that have similar practices. They protect each other. Maya was taken aback. A network? How deep does this go? It goes deep, Elise insisted, her voice low and serious. I have documents, emails, and a few recordings that could expose them, but it's dangerous. They have powerful allies. Maya felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. If you have proof, we need to share it. This movement is about more than just the store. It's about accountability. Elise nodded, her expression grave. I agree, but we need to be careful. They won't take kindly to someone trying to expose their secrets. Maya felt a surge of determination. She had come too far to back down now. I'm not afraid. I've faced humiliation and injustice. I won't let fear stop me from fighting for what's right. The two women stood in a moment of shared resolve, a silent understanding passing between them. Elise seemed impressed by Maya's courage. You're brave. But know this. The fight won't be easy. You'll face backlash and they may come after you. I'm ready for it, Maya responded, her voice steady. This fight is bigger than me and I won't be silenced. As they spoke, the crowd began to disperse, but Maya felt a renewed sense of purpose. This was not just a battle for her dignity, it was a fight against systemic oppression that affected many. She was on the cusp of something monumental, but now she needed to navigate the complexities of what lay ahead. I'll contact you, Elise said, her gaze lingering on Maya. We need to strategize. Together we can bring this to light. Absolutely, Maya replied, feeling an unexpected allyship form. Thank you for stepping forward. We can't do this without people like you. With that, Elise turned and began to walk away, but not before glancing back at Maya, a hint of urgency in her demeanor. Maya watched her disappear into the throng of the crowd, feeling a mix of hope and uncertainty. The journey was far from over, but with each passing moment, she was reminded that she was not alone. The movement was gaining momentum, and together they would fight for justice no matter the cost. Maya stood on the makeshift stage, her heart racing as she concluded her speech. The crowd, a sea of faces united in their fight against racial discrimination, roared with applause. She felt a surge of hope and empowerment as she looked out over the assembly, but her attention was drawn to a figure standing at the edge of the crowd. A woman dressed in a tailored black suit was watching her intently. There was something about her demeanor that made Maya uneasy. As the last echoes of her speech faded, the woman stepped forward, her heels clicking sharply against the pavement. The crowd parted slightly, allowing her to approach Maya with an air of authority. The woman's dark hair framed her face, and her piercing blue eyes locked onto Maya's as if she could see straight through her. Maya Johnson? The woman asked, her voice smooth yet commanding. Yes, that's me, Maya replied, her heart pounding harder. I'm Elise Carter. The woman introduced herself, extending a hand. I used to work for the store and I have some information that you need to hear. Maya hesitated for a moment before shaking Elise's hand. What do you mean? Information about what? About the corruption you're fighting? Elise said, her expression serious. It's much bigger than you think. The store is just a piece of a larger puzzle involving multiple companies, all connected through unethical practices. And you're in more danger than you realize. Maya's stomach knotted with anxiety. Danger? What do you mean? Elise glanced around, ensuring they weren't overheard. This is not just about the store's discrimination. It goes far deeper. They've been silencing anyone who tries to expose them. You've attracted a lot of attention, and not all of it is good. Maya swallowed hard. I'm not afraid. I have to do this. For me, for all the women who've suffered like I have. I admire your courage, but courage isn't enough against a system that has deep roots and powerful allies. Elise warned, her tone grave. I've seen what they can do. You need to be careful. What do you know? Maya asked, her voice steady but laced with urgency. Tell me everything. Elise looked Maya directly in the eye, her expression softening slightly. You have to understand, I loved that store once. I believed in its mission. But when I started to notice the discrimination, the way they treated certain customers, especially women of color, I felt compelled to speak out. Cost me my job. They silenced me, and they can do the same to you. Maya felt a surge of anger. I won't be silenced. I'm already fighting back. I have a whole community behind me. Elise nodded, impressed but concerned. That's why I'm here. I want to help you, but you need to know the stakes. I have documents, emails, internal memos that prove the store's complicity in these unethical practices. But if they find out I'm helping you, they won't just come after me, they'll come after you. Maya's mind raced. What do you want in return? Nothing, Elise replied quickly. I just want to see justice served. But I need your trust. I can help you navigate this, but you have to promise to be careful. It's not just about you anymore, it's about everyone who's been hurt by this system. I promise, Maya said, her determination unwavering. But I need to know more. Can you show me the evidence? Not here, Elise urged, glancing around again. Meet me at the cafe on Chartres Street tomorrow evening. I'll bring everything I have, but you need to be discreet. I can't risk being seen with you. Okay, Maya agreed, feeling a mixture of excitement and apprehension. I'll be there. Elise's expression turned serious again. Maya, you have to watch your back. They're already aware of you. If you keep pushing, they'll retaliate. I'm ready for whatever comes, Maya said, her voice firm. She was terrified, but the fear only fueled her resolve. Elise hesitated, then stepped closer, lowering her voice. There's something else you need to know. This fight might be personal for you, but it's connected to something bigger, something that could shake the foundations of their operations. I believe you're part of a story that goes back further than you think. What do you mean? Maya asked, her curiosity piqued. Elise took a deep breath, her eyes clouded with concern. I can't say much now, but your family history might have ties to this. I know it sounds strange, but the threads weave together in ways you might not expect. I'll explain everything when we meet. Maya's heart raced again, this time with a mix of confusion and intrigue. Are you saying I have a connection to this? Just be open to the possibility, Elise replied, her tone enigmatic. It's complicated, but I promise to share everything I know. With that, Elise stepped back, her posture shifting back to the professional demeanor that Maya had first encountered. I have to go now. Just remember, your life may depend on how you handle this. As Elise turned to leave, Maya called after her, wait, how do I know you're not just trying to set me up? Elise paused, looking back over her shoulder. You'll have to trust your instincts, Maya. Just know that I wouldn't risk my safety if I didn't believe in you in this fight. With that, she disappeared into the crowd, leaving Maya standing alone, her mind racing. The weight of Elise's words settled heavily on Maya's shoulders as she absorbed the gravity of the situation. Could her fight for justice be intertwined with her family's past? The thought sent a shiver down her spine. She needed answers, and she needed them fast. That night, sleep eluded her. Thoughts swirled in her mind, mixing hope and dread. She replayed Elise's warnings, her own determination, and the faces of the women who had shared their stories with her. They were counting on her to lead, to fight, and to shine a light on the injustices they had faced. The next day, Maya awoke with a renewed sense of purpose. She knew she had to prepare for her meeting with Elise and the information that could change everything. As she dressed, she found herself glancing at the mirror, searching for the strength she would need to face whatever lay ahead. Later that evening at the cafe, Maya's heart raced as she waited for Elise. The ambience was warm and inviting, but she felt anything but comfortable. The clinking of cups and the soft murmur of conversations surrounded her, but her focus was solely on the door. When Elise finally entered, Maya's breath caught in her throat. The lawyer looked even more serious than before. She quickly scanned the room and headed straight to Maya's table. Did anyone follow you? Maya asked, her voice low but urgent. I don't think so, Elise replied, her eyes darting around. Let's be quick. As they settled into their seats, Elise opened her briefcase and pulled out a stack of papers. This is what I managed to gather. She slid several documents across the table. Emails, memos, reports, everything that connects the store to the larger scheme. Maya's eyes widened as she scanned the contents. This is incredible, she whispered, her mind racing with possibilities. This could change everything. Yes, but it's also very dangerous, Elise warned, her voice barely above a whisper. You need to be strategic about how you proceed. If they discover you have this information, they won't hesitate to come after you. I understand, Maya said, feeling the weight of responsibility on her shoulders, but I can't back down. Too many people are counting on me. Elise nodded, but her expression remained serious. Just promise me you'll be careful. And remember, the truth is powerful, but it can also make you a target. Maya took a deep breath, steeling herself for the challenges ahead. I promise, I'll do whatever it takes. Little did she know, the fight for justice was only just beginning, and the path ahead would reveal the secrets of her past that could forever change her future.